Okay, you all set?
Almost.
Okay, great. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the summer Board of Selectmen. This is a regular meeting. Today's the 16th of January, Thursday, the 25th, the 16th, 2025. 6 o'clock, we're here in Town Hall. I'll just start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So tonight we have I would say, full house. And this is normally more than we normally have. So this is really good. We don't have too many people from the public, but you can't have everything, right? So we have Brian Wissinger, our CFO, Mike Marinaccio sitting next to him, our assistant treasurer, Kim LaFleur, our ops director, on my left. We have Selectman Meyer on my right and Selectman Schmidt on my left. We also have Todd Rowland, our Director of Public Works and Land Use, David Lenart, our Chief of the Fire Department, Jen Roy, our Assistant Land Use Director, Jim O'Hearn, Chairman of the Economic Development Committee. Dave Marty will be joining us later. He's the only person in his office. He's the town clerk. He's going to come down probably in about a half an hour. Karen Neal, our town assessor. Tim Coons, Russo Engineering. Danny Irvin. What's your title?
Accountant.
Accounting. Yeah. Accountant. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Great. So, welcome everyone. And we have no public this evening. Presentation by First Selectman. I just might mention, first of all, that Brian Wissinger and I went over to Ellington yesterday to talk to the ambulance office and had a very good discussion with their town manager, their director of ambulance service, and explained to them the situation we'd had with Stafford and how we were just trying to present a equal offer proposal to them, and explained. Brian did a great job of explaining it on 2 sheets of paper as to what it was all about. Needless to say, the whole issue of ALS, reimbursement for ALS services, is very complex. And they're also their finance director was also there. And so this was an opportunity to just discuss the issues and why things are the way we think they are and how reasonable we're being. And we just wanted to sort of shore up our expenses. That's it, pretty much. And I think we were well received. Very professional group, I must say. And that went well, I think. They're going to get back to us with questions and some kind of response in a week or two, I believe. I also might mention that this morning, we had a fatal car accident on 190 here in town.
Yeah.
That was very sad, but I think it was handled quite well by the fire department and police department. Also today, Jim O'Hearn and I, he's the chairman of the Economic Development Committee, presented the Small Business of the Month Award to the, what's it called? Something B Collective. Vintage B Collective. Okay, gotcha. It's an antique shop in Somersville. It was a very nice visit. It was good. Took a picture. Newspapers stand by. That's all I have. Consent agenda, boards and commissions. We have a resignation.
I think you have to put that under opportunity agenda items.
Under where?
Opportunity agenda items.
Okay, great. All right. Yeah, opportunity to add agenda items urgent agenda items. So we have a, what are they?
Resignation from Ann Levesque.
Yeah, resignation from Ann Levesque. That just came in this morning. That's why it's late.
Make a motion to add to tonight's agenda the resignation of Ann Levesque
From the Economic Development Committee.
Commission.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Anything else? Do we have to add anything else? Is there anything else to add, Kim?
No,
No.
that
All
was
right.
it, sir.
Okay, good.
I don't have anything else.
Great. Thank you. Transfers and appropriations. I believe we have none. CFO Finance report and update.
Yeah, so as Tim said, we met with Ellington. It seemed very productive. They understood, that currently, paramedic intercepts are where we lose or we end up subsidizing other towns because we're not breaking even on intercepts. And since these other towns that we go to, we don't send the ambulance, we send a fly car. It ends up being an intercept. We're not doing the transport, and so Summers ends up subsidizing these. They understood it. They felt, we were right to ask for them to pay their fair share. They understood the numbers. They said they would be back in touch. So we're hoping that it all goes very smoothly. It seemed very productive. So we're hoping for a positive outcome out of that.
It will be effective 1 July.
Yeah, we proposed that it become effective 1 July so that it ties in with their new budget. They would need to budget for the additional.
Well, you were also joined by the
expense.
chief. And
Yeah, the chief was there. Matt Apple
we had a lot
was
of
there.
backup. We had a lot of backup.
We were just muscle.
Yeah, right.
We didn't have to bring any weapons with us.
Hence the Velcro shirt. Right.
The chief was the weapon. We didn't need
Yeah, just keep smiling. That's it.
Yeah, no, it seemed really good, though. The other thing I have for you, I gave you guys a changes in grand list sheet. The assessor, Karen Neal, has basically wrapped up the 2024 grand list. Unfortunately, a lot of state laws went into effect and take place with this grand list, and because of that, we're taking quite the hit. Real estate had grown about $6 million. However, the new veterans exemption law that went into effect with this grand list was a $3.5 million reduction in grand list value, so you only see a $2.8 million increase there. Personal property is down from last year. That's the Bilton Road solar field that went in. So a $10 million reduction in assessment there.
Yeah,
as
the
well.
veterans, by the way, was for those that are permanently disabled.
Yeah, the veterans is 100% permanent and totally disabled. They get their houses this year are fully exempt. In future years, it'll include their land and outbuildings and everything else as well. So we assume next year we're going to see another hit to that as well.
And they made a mistake in legislation. I looked into this
Yep.
because I'm somewhat.
I mean, leave it
I
to
want
the
to find
state
out whether
to
I
make a
qualify.
mistake in
The answer was
legislation.
I didn't. Yeah, but they do allow for people that are less than 100% disabled if they're permanently disabled. So if you're 50% permanently disabled, you get the exemption this year. They're going to fix it next year.
I think they already corrected it, if I'm not mistaken, Karen.
They sent a letter back in November from the General Assembly
Yeah,
stating that the intent of the law was for only the 100% permanent and total, and that we are only to apply it to the 100%
okay.
permanent
Oh,
total.
Good. Well,
Yep.
Yep.
been taken care of.
It
Yep.
still amounts to, and the second sheet on this shows that, it still amounts to 27, residents of town.
Yeah, it's significant, and it's nothing we can do about it.
When they were enacting the law, they estimated that it would be about 1,100 people statewide, 27 just in Summers, so that times 169 towns is 4,500 people, so they were a little off on their math. I've got to assume a city like Hartford probably has 1,100 by itself. That would just be my guess, but And then the other big hit is motor vehicle. This year they implemented the new motor vehicle graduated depreciation formula for assessment of motor vehicles. And that's a $18.7 million reduction in the grand list. Overall, it's $25.8 million reduction in the grand list. At today's mill rate, that's equal to $748,000 worth of taxes. It's a 3/4 mil increase just to get back to today's value.
And that doesn't include our pretty significant reductions in state funding.
Right. With the $358,000 reduction in state funding, we're talking $1.1 million overall, just to get back to zero.
How much was that?
How much was which one? There was a lot of numbers there.
What?
1.1 million.
1.1 million. That's the grand list reduction?
No, that's
No.
grand list plus state aid.
Okay.
So the state aid reduction was ECS as well as.
ECS and
highway-
municipal
or
revenue
municipal
share.
revenue sharing.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, it's $1.1 million just to get back to zero.
Yeah.
That doesn't count any growth in expenses at this time.
So 1.1 million is equivalent to about
1.13 mils.
1.13 mils.
So
Yep.
we're gonna have some hard decisions. As
Yeah, to put
Yeah.
it nicely.
town leadership, we're gonna have some hard decisions.
Yep.
Should be a fun meeting with the Board of Finance.
Yes,
next
it's going to be very interesting.
week. Educational.
Yep. Yep.
You're the educator.
Yep.
Okay.
Any questions on any of that?
Well, thank you, nice job.
That's very helpful.
Good to have this information early. I mean,
Yeah.
it really helps
Yeah,
us
exactly.
frame the
Puts everything into
conversation.
perspective. Okay.
And nice job getting the grand list done.
Very nice job.
It would have been done a week or so ago, but QDS was holding off on instructions. So,
And I was sick.
and,
Yeah.
sick. You would have done it,
Okay. All right, presentation schedule payments. Okay. It's in here somewhere, right? Let's see. Great, okay. So we need a motion for the overall amount.
Yeah, I'm happy to make a motion to approve the, authorize the payments in the amount of $190,663.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Updates from boards and commissions, I think we have none there. Pending business, we have none. Fire department request for three different items here.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I got a green. I have a green light.
Oh, you do have a green light.
I have a couple things for you tonight on the docket. The first one is I'd like to actually remove item A. Part-time EMT paramedic Scott Mingai did complete his required recertification training. We've had a meeting with him today. He's asking to stay on. And after talking it over with the other officers, we've agreed that with our need for paramedics, it would be good to keep him on. So
He also is a valuable employee who's demonstrated good performance on the job.
He's even working shifts.
if you see there, it says his last shift was August 16th. He had,
Personal issues.
yeah, so, but we've met with him. He did come in and do all his required training, and he is back up to full strength and speed. So I'd like to remove that from the item or from
Yeah.
the agenda if possible.
Yeah, pretty easy.
Requests, do you want to do one at a time, or?
Yeah,
All right, request B is to hire part-time firefighter EMT Derek Wise. There is a error in the starting rate. It's $25.06 an hour, not 28. My apologies. The part-timers are $3 less than the full-timers, so that was, I didn't read the asterisk on the bottom. Derek's local. He's from Stafford. He's been EMT up there, firefighter in Stafford. So came recommended from the panel that interviewed him.
Great. So someone want to make a motion? Are there any questions?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I make a motion to hire part-time firefighter EMT Derek Weiss at the starting hourly rate of $25.06 pursuant to the union contract, and the start date of January 6, 2025.
26.
26.
January 26th.
January 26th.
You said
Well, I
six.
just said 6.
Okay. January 6th.
I'm working here 10 days.
We owe
All
some
right.
money already.
Yeah, sorry if I
I'm so.
stumbled.
That's okay. Yeah.
My second request is to hire a
We got to
firefighter.
vote on it. Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
All those in support of the motion, say aye. Oh, do we get a second on the motion?
Second.
Second, okay. All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
And then second is to hire part-time firefighter EMT Brendan Canty from Dudley, Mass, with the starting pay of $25.06 an hour, start date of January 26th.
And what's his,
He's
Situation.
EMT with AMR. He's been a volunteer firefighter for over 10 years. Again, recommended by the panel.
great. So we need a motion for that as well.
Make a motion to hire part-time firefighter EMT Brandon Canty with an hourly rate of $25.06 pursuant to the union contract, and a start date of January 26, 2025.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? These part-time firefighters should also decrease the need for some overtime too, is right?
Amongst the full-time fire EMTs, there's only 2 of them, but yes,
Most of our overtime is generated by paramedics, though, right? I would
correct.
assume.
Most of the overtime is generated because usually the 2 full-time firefighters also work the same hours as the part-time guys.
Yeah.
So it's easier to cover them.
And you could just drop if you needed to, but we need a paramedic on duty around the clock. so-
Correct. Or someone that stayed at a Holiday Inn last night. I just want to say, too, while I've got everyone's attention, that the members did a tremendous job this morning under difficult circumstances.
Yeah.
They really did. So it's something to, while the outcome was unfortunate, they did a tremendous job.
Good.
So, and then I will see you next week for the bigger agenda items.
Great. Well, thank you. All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Chief. So our next item on the agenda is the proposed solar field at 159 South Road. Director Welland and Tim Coons are going to present what was proposed and what changes have been made and how things are looking.
Yes, good evening. I had asked Tim from Russo Engineering to come. They're the engineering firm for the owner of the proposed solar field at 159 South Road, to come and kind of present the plan so the public can take a look at it as well as this body. They had presented this last year. We had many comments and had sent them to Pura. Pura took them to heart and denied their application at the time, with included many of our comments about this proposed solar field at the old Bordeaux apple farm. So they have revised their plan, and I believe this is the updated plan.
Yes. Yep.
And this is the plan. This is South Road, just south of Geisler's. I don't know if you can zoom in a little bit more.
I can blow
Yeah,
this up.
Yep, there we go. Okay. Oh, there we go. So that big building on the bottom there is Geisler's.
Sorry.
That's all right. So this is the east side of Route 83. Would be going up in the old Bordeaux apple farm and be on the hill there. The plan includes fencing as well as plantings for screening. And I don't know if you want to kind of go over that,
Yeah,
what we got here.
Yes.
Thank you,
Great to have
Todd.
you here this afternoon.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Now, as Todd mentioned, yes, we had an initial plan that was submitted to actually, it's the Connecticut Siting Council. That's okay, just
I deal
And-
with your.
Yeah. And that was submitted in 2023, and then we went through the full process with that, which I know Mr. Keeney participated in that, provided some comments as well.
Mr. Marinaccio was very helpful as
Yeah.
well.
Okay. Yep. And as Todd mentioned, we were denied in March of 2024, but we took the feedback and the comments that we received through that process, and we went back to the drawing board, if you will, to make some revisions to address some of the concerns that were brought up at that point in time. We are currently, after we revised the plan, we resubmitted it to the Connecticut Siting Council with a motion to reopen, which they granted in November, and now we actually have our meeting with them on the 30th of this month. So that's our schedule moving forward. So the original plan was a 3.85 megawatt system, was about 17.11 acres of fenced area that enclosed the solar panels, and it had an access road. I don't know if you remember that, but currently, yeah, the access road came down to South Road about here, and it came up through this area. And that was also where the interconnection was being proposed. And for that interconnection, there was a requirement because the lines actually in South Road would not accept the additional power. We would have to, it would have been required to run some new wires on the existing poles down to our interconnection point so that we could connect to the system on Mountain View. So what has been changed is that, there were concerns with our interconnection point. There were concerns with visibility from Route 5. There was concerns with proximity to the abutting property located here off of South Road, because this was a little bit closer, actually quite a bit closer to that property line. So when we went and did our revisions, we shifted the entire solar array a little bit further to the north. This is other land of the property owner, which is Nancy B. Edgar, and I got that written down here somewhere. The other property is, and Diane Bordeaux Lente. It's more land there, so we pushed it closer to that, which pulled us further away from South Road and the properties. We also eliminated about 442 panels from this south and southwest area, again, to pull the whole array further away from South Road and from the abutting property.
How did that affect the water quality issues raised by
With regard to the water quality, we still have the two stormwater basins. There's two infiltration basins. We were able to take the one that was initially proposed down on this side hill next to South Road and move it up on top of the bank. We're still providing the required treatment and groundwater recharge in accordance with the deep stormwater manual. So
Okay.
that's all still part of the plan here.
Right, thank you.
So that's going to discharge and tie in the sewer, or city,
The basic,
not sewage, but I'm saying like the stormwater system.
actually, it's going to discharge, there's two basins, and they will act as infiltration basins. So the majority of the runoff, we're actually going to recharge back into the ground.
Okay.
They're designed to infiltrate. So only during larger storm events, we'll have an overflow, and the overflow from the basin down at the north end will actually go to the existing, or will discharge outside of the wetland area, but it'll ultimately run into the ponds that exist there. And I believe those ponds do have a discharge underneath South Road further down. And then the southern basin, located here, also is designed as an infiltration basin. That will have an overflow, which will be a pipe, which comes down to the bottom of the hill, so the water doesn't have to run down the hill and discharge to there's a swale kind of along the edge of South Road here, which currently directs the runoff from this area down to another cross culvert down in front of this property. So
This
that's,
has been engineered, I mean, we've
Yes.
done perk testing, we've done.
yes, we have. We've done soil testing, we've done everything in order to design these basins in accordance with the DEP requirements.
The DOT, I would assume, has input because you're discharging to our state road.
This ultimately will require an encroachment permit from DOT, yes.
And that's something they'll review though, it's like the
Yeah.
water discharge and.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
What's the easement on that side with the other property there? Like, what's the offset to, when you shifted it to that property line, like how
Same
far?
owner, same owner.
how
Yeah,
far are
but
you-
we're still, well, the panels themselves are still complying with the, I think it's is it a 15-yard setback, side yard setback, whatever the required setback
15
is.
yard?
Is it 25, is it 25, whatever,
25 feet or yards?
feet,
Feet. Okay.
feet. That's it, and that's the structure setback. So we the access road now, what was coming down to South Road here, first, we've moved the interconnection point, and the interconnection point is now going to be over on Mountain View Road. So the power is going to come out here and connect to the pole line in Mountain View Road, eliminating the need for everything that was going to be down here on South Road. There will be a little access road, which is strictly for maintenance, so Eversource can maintain those poles at that location. That is just a short little access road with a turnaround there. The main access to the array facility will actually be from the existing driveway, which actually comes off of South Road. There's a paved apron and a long gravel driveway currently that comes all the way back to the field. And we will be just extending that from the corner up along the north edge of the array and then down along the eastern edge where the equipment pads and inverters will be. So that.
Tim, I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
The council did ask you about the poles, trying to reduce the number of poles, trying to go underground at some point. I think it was in the latest interrogatories they sent you on. Where do you stand on that?
The people from Santa and Luth Cowan, I believe they have accepted that they will approach Eversource. Ultimately, that decision is a decision by Eversource whether or not they allow the ground-mounted equipment as opposed to the poles. So, but they have indicated that they will approach them and see what Eversource says about that. The one thing about over in this area is that now these poles are not going to be nearly as visible as where they were originally off of South Road. There's going to be a little clearing required in order to put in this access drive and turnaround up here, but it's really, you won't, it's a long distance even from there to the street and as far as visibility goes. What else did we do? Some other changes that we made in accordance with some of the comments is the chain link fence. We've now changed to an agricultural style fence. We have added sound barriers along or adjacent to our inverters so that we meet the sound propagation requirements, if you will, at the property line to the east.
So additional screening, plantings?
Yep, I was just going to, we've increased and actually, why don't I go down to another drawing?
Tim, you did send the selectmen
Yeah, I
an
sent
email on this with all these changes.
With all the site plans, that's
back
correct.
at the beginning of January 2nd, I believe.
Yes.
And there are a lot of changes, and clearly they're all made in response to what the siting council had cited that they wanted you to do. I guess my question, sitting here in the town with you dealing with the state, is who makes sure that all these changes, in fact, do happen when you start construction? Who makes sure you put up an agricultural fence and not just a chain link fence? Who kind of ensures all those things happen?
I believe it's all under the jurisdiction of the Connecticut Siting Council. So
I don't even know how they go about doing that.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know either. They do have the ability to come out and check the site.
Somebody's going to
construction.
attest that you've done all this, I suppose.
Yes, I
Probably
would assume
under oath.
at the end, they will go back for some type of final sign-off from the Connecticut Siting Council,
Okay.
so.
All right.
I believe there'll be checks.
Do towns ever have a purview over something like that? Do they ever come out and look at what's done?
I'm not aware that it
No.
being under the siting council's jurisdiction,
Yeah.
it's theirs and
Yeah,
and not a
no, I
town issue.
understand.
but-
They give you all the permission to go there.
All right.
But I do think if there were local zoning issues, they would kind of be concerned. They would want to know how the town felt.
Certainly.
Okay.
And we are sensitive to that in our designs. We try to make sure that everything complies with any
I
local
mean, yeah, I
zoning.
mean, the town did express concerns about shifting that field, and the siting council went along with that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
which is why we made sure to maintain that required setback on that north end.
You'll still need local permits, though, won't
I was
you?
just saying, will that require building permits? And-
No,
Really?
no, you will need building permits. Actually, add the building permits, I'm not even sure if they go through the building department or the state building department.
Every solar field that's been built in summer so far has gone through our local.
For building departments,
Yeah,
yeah,
building
but the local zoning and wetlands is precluded by the Connecticut
council,
Siting
yeah,
Council.
yeah, Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
What do you expect to happen at the January 30th meeting of the siting council?
I can only hope that that they're satisfied with the changes that we've made.
They can make a final decision.
And they can, well, I believe they have a certain number of days. They'll close the hearing, close their evidentiary hearing, and then they'll make a decision
They have
after that.
they have the public hearing, and the first one's called an evidentiary hearing.
Correct.
And that'll be at 2:00 in the afternoon, and that's when they're going to grill Tim and the representatives of Santa Fuel. They go through each one of the council members, ask questions based on all the answers and all these things that are here, and they get quite technical at times. Anybody in town is entitled to dial in and watch that.
They're allowed, yes, they can dial
They
in
can
and watch
watch
the
it.
2:00. They can
I
actually
watch it. so
participate
it's,
in the 6:00.
It's a Zoom meeting, and then when that's done, they recess, and then in the evening, and I think it's like 6:00.
I believe 6:00, yes.
Is a public comment section. I think the only hitch is, and in fact, they're bringing it up in the legislature in this session, is that you have to register in advance in order to ask questions. And in the latest thing in the legislature, they're trying to drop that so that people can just ask questions without having to register in advance. However, again, it's available for the public. They can call in. We should have all that information on our website about this.
Yeah.
So,
What's the environmental impact? I mean, it looks like you're removing a number of trees. I mean, like habitats, things like that. I mean, what's the impact there? Has that been studied or?
All of that has been addressed. We had to put together a whole, the application that goes to the Connecticut Siting Council, addresses tree clearing, it addresses the environmental, endangered species, air quality, water quality. We go through all of that with the information that we submit to the Siting Council, and essentially we do not anticipate any negative impacts, any significant negative impacts from this project.
there are opinion letters from the deep commissioner, I mean, all the different divisions, they look at all that stuff.
Yeah, it's reviewed, the
In fact,
information that we
they kinda
provide
ran into
is
an issue.
passed along to deep,
They ran into
and
an
they all
issue
have.
with kind of a frog, which was in the,
They-
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there's
it's
not a lot of space like that in town.
right,
Yeah.
and that issue alone created a concern, so.
Yeah, okay.
They are tending to be more protective of woodlands now, especially what they consider prime forest,
Yeah.
in addition to prime agriculture, depending on, the amount that you, or how large the system ends up being.
So there were no concerns at all raised other than the frog that was addressed?
No, the concerns that were raised have been addressed here.
Okay.
And then they recirculated through all the state agencies, and they say, yeah, it's okay. So they make sure that all those are addressed.
Now, I mean, it's probably premature, but I mean, as far as like proposed assessment or, essentially like to Summers taxpayers, I mean, like what's the benefit of this development, I guess, to our residents?
It's a good question.
It is a good question, and I wish I had the information to answer that, but that would be the people from,
It's outside the scope of the engineer.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
I don't
I know,
know.
it's just-
One thing I do know is that currently this land is in 490, so in order to get it out of 490, there's some tax implications there, where this now be reassessed under a different category that
It becomes
should.
commercial, it becomes commercial land.
Commercial
The
land.
moment they
So-
put the panels up, it's commercial land now, it's not
And then-
farmland.
Rather-
We're able to tax the
You can tax
personal
the land.
property that's there, the panels and everything based on their value.
But that's an issue that will be before the legislature again this year, we
Right.
assume.
Yeah, the
Try to work out
state legislature could set that rate, or
Yeah.
if they don't, it's still up to us to tax it at what we feel the value of that property is.
I mean, there's the opportunity for Santa, I know it's beneficial for them to enter an agreement with the municipality to sell the power, it's possibly a discussion, I mean, I think there's maybe, if this were approved, depending on what the siting council, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No poles, you said, right, though, other than the
Well-
few on the property?
Yeah, right.
potentially.
It's going to be
Everything else is
underground.
Existing poles, once it hits the connection point on the street, it's going to be existing poles.
I'll blow this up here a little bit, because
You have
there
the poles
are,
on Mountain View there. And
Right.
Like Mike said, potentially could be placed underground,
that's correct.
potentially, but that's it though. No poles on 83, no poles.
No poles on
We're not putting
83.
high tension lines across.
No. All of this, all the power from the equipment pads on site are going to be carried underground down to, and then there's a series of poles there's the customer pole, then there's the meter pole, there's this pole, there's that pole. It's usually a series of 5 or 6 poles that Eversource requires at the interconnection point, which we are showing on the plan out near Mountain View. And again,
Just a small access road with a little turnaround. or
That's
whatever.
all, yep.
Got it. Okay,
Right.
well, thank you.
Thank
All
you very
right.
much,
Tim?
very informative.
yes,
I have a question.
yes.
What is the new, how many megawatts will it be? How much did it get reduced?
I believe we're now at 3.65.
3.65? And if everything passes on January 30th, when do you expect to start the project?
That I don't know. I don't know whether they would construct it this
It
year or
it
not.
won't be passed on January 30th.
No.
They have until like April or May to make a decision, the siting council. It's just a public hearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will this be visible driving down 83?
It probably will be visible. We are, with the revisions, we are maintaining much of the,
If you don't look,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know
It's
how
gonna be
it's gonna
up. It's up on
You
the
drive
hill.
by it every day.
So because it's
Just look at
elevated.
that hill and you're like.
it is elevated.
Yeah,
One of the
exactly where it's
advantages
above you.
of the revisions that we've done is that now we've taken and our screening, our vegetation, we've been able to move up to the top of the hill. So it's higher and it's going to block more. It's going to be more effective screen. It's going to take less time for it to grow in and actually block the site up there. So, and it also allows us to leave whatever good trees are down in the front as well. So. But I can't say that it won't be visible, because even now, even from down the other end, as you drive down near the ponds, especially during the winter, you can look across the ponds and see the field back there.
Oh,
So,
yeah, of course. Yeah, we know.
so, yeah, it will be visible.
All right, thank you.
Great, thanks very much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Rowland,
You'll need that.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Spring Splash.
Next up is our annual request to allow the town clerk to certify the municipal resolution. This is for the annual spring splash. This is required by DEEP in order for us to apply for a permit to operate the control gates at Mill Pond. We operate those gates to let water out in advance of the spring splash, which is on Saturday, March 29th this year.
Right.
That is, we only do that if the flow is really low and they wouldn't be able to set their boats and kayaks in. We haven't had to in the last 3 years, I think, but we always get this lined up just in case. So I'm requesting the Board of Selectmen authorize the town clerk to certify this municipal resolution.
fine with that, no question.
So we need a motion on that, don't we?
Make a motion to approve the 2025 spring splash scheduled for March 29th, 2025, with a rain date of April 5th, 2025. To authorize the first selectman to sign any documents and to allow the town clerk to notarize the attached resolution and submit to the state as required.
Second.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in support say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Next up is the land use budget for 2026. As I sent to you, we haven't made a lot of changes. Most of the changes are around the new building official position that
You
we
want to
created.
introduce your assistant?
Oh, sorry. This is Jennifer Roy, Assistant Land Use Director and Zoning Enforcement Officer.
Thank you.
Year over year, based on the salaries we're paying now, it's about a 0.36% increase. Like I said, most of it, the biggest changes are on the building official, where we would have some supplies for the building official as well as training that we don't pay now because of our agreement with another town. The other differences are land use services. This is our annual contract with a wetlands agent. We anticipate that going up by about 5%. And then the conservation, the other conservation, which is an $850 increase, that is to cover the cost of water quality monitoring of the Scannick River. All towns, including Summers, that have the Scannick River in it, have begun water quality monitoring a year ago, just to get the health of the river and also tell us what we should be looking for contaminants, because it is a contaminated water body. So we and other towns are participating in that, and we get a report once a month telling us it's generally bacteria, and it ebbs and flows a little bit, but this 850 covers the supplies.
And there's a special study going on by independent study. And
Correct.
these towns that are adjacent to the area are contributing toward that study, isn't that what?
Correct. It's done by a PhD.
Yeah, from UConn.
It's not UConn.
I think it's UConn.
Is it
Yeah.
UConn?
I thought it was St. Joe.
Yes, St. Joe. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, St. Joe's, yeah, I did a joint presentation with her last year over at the high school.
Yeah.
She's good.
Yeah, so the reports are impressive.
Right.
Other increases are GIS under technology services are going up. What was the other one?
Well, the budget isn't going up much, so I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, everything goes up a little bit, but it's pretty tight.
I'd say very tight.
So this assumes that we're not going to have an ongoing, any kind of relationship with town of Stafford.
For the building
As far as the
service.
building official
Correct.
goes.
That is progressing. Michael's doing a good job.
Yeah.
You know, only a couple months in, but we anticipate, thanking Stafford sometime in this year, this spring or late spring, and seating Michael as a full-time building official. He has to get through a 6-month probationary period and ensure that things are going well, but this budget assumes that.
So when
That is
does
the
that
direction.
happen? When does he get his full certificate?
He's a full building official now.
Okay, so.
It's just, we require a 6-month probationary
Oh,
period.
6 months, okay.
And we really wanted to wait until we got through the probationary period before we seat him as the building
Okay.
official,
And when
which is what.
when's that? I missed that, sorry.
May, right?
April, middle of April, was
Yeah,
it November
mid-April.
18th,
So-
mid-April, it would be
Early May,
probably
somewhere
effective
around there.
So
May
very,
1st,
very shortly.
yeah.
And then
Thank
what
you.
would be the plan? We would stop using Stafford, or
Correct.
we would reduce their hours?
We would stop using staff. That was the intention all along.
I mean, I think you and Jen have done a great job with the building department. I mean, it's in the best shape I think it's been in, knock on wood. I mean, I think we've kind of built a good building department now. It took a number of years, but I think we're finally
We're getting
in
there.
a good spot
We
there,
are.
so.
And thanks to Stafford and Mark and Glenn for stepping up and helping us out in our time of need.
Oh, they were great. I
They're-
mean,
they're a wealth of
definitely-
knowledge, for sure.
Yeah,
Well, I'll tell you,
definitely.
when the guys came to my house in Stafford,
Thorough.
they were perfect.
Yeah, they were good.
It was a
We've come
breath
a
of
long
fresh,
way.
it was a breath of fresh air from the gentleman we had before.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And thank you for finding Mr. Anthony.
Yeah, he's great.
Michael is
That was a lot of work.
great personnel.
Yeah.
That was a lot of work.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think we've,
It was a department-wide effort.
I think it's in good. Yeah.
And Jen is really the one that runs the department. I'm the
He
figurehead.
keeps bringing brownies.
Way to go,
well,
Jen.
when we review your stipend, maybe,
Well, I know when I go in,
Takes that
it's
into
always
consideration.
yes. I know when I call you at 7 a.m. and you're, here at town hall doing land use stuff or whatever. I know you're working on.
I'm somewhere.
Yeah. Thank you, Todd. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions on the budget request?
Nice job.
No, it's
Looks
very
good.
well done, and you
It's very
guys are
tight.
great.
Yeah, looks good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do we want to let Chairman O'Hearn go ahead of all the various departments?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm sure it's items too, so just FYI. I think you all have this proposal, right?
Yes,
We do.
have
Okay. Thank you.
Here's his budget proposal.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna post that.
Oh, thank you.
Bye.
Okay, I handed out that little homey list of local businesses to try to generate some goodwill at the beginning of the presentation here. That's the list of all the businesses that have received the Business of the Month award. The 15th was today, and that's the Vintage Bee Collection, which is located down in the mill next door to Dr. Keeney's house.
I don't like the term doctor.
Fortunately, she has a constant source of income.
Captain work. You're right. It was, we had a nice visit, and she's got an impressive layout there in that building.
It's gorgeous. She has the most beautiful views out the windows to the pond and the waterfall. Absolutely gorgeous.
We're about 1,000 geese in the mill pond.
I've never seen that many geese in one place at one time.
Well, they're in my neighborhood too, and I've
We'll
never
have to
seen so many.
contact
Yeah,
the Guinness
I
Book
don't
of
think
World
anyone
Records
south.
and see if we can get Summers onto the book.
I've never seen somebody not go south.
Apparently not.
No, there are two populations of geese. There's one that migrates, there's one that does not.
Well, that's definitely the one that does not.
Exactly.
But that's bigger than ever.
I did not see any ice. I just saw geese.
Right, I agree with you.
Okay, well, let me give a brief backstory to this. I think you generally would agree that historically, the Economic Development Commission has worn the Harry Potter cloak of invisibility for almost its entire lifetime. And certainly for the first 2 years that I was on the commission, the only achievement that I could see was the publishing of the business directory, which ultimately led to just a lot of problems. So a couple of years ago, there was a pretty much complete turnover in the commission, and we really seriously addressed things that we wanted to try to accomplish. And the last 2 years has been a learning process. We've done things, we've learned from the things that we've attempted to do, but instead of sitting back and talking, we tried to be proactive and actively do things. Some of them have been very disappointing. Some of them have showed some promise. So, about 2 months ago, we sat down as a commission and said we need to be able to do something productive. Meeting every month and then looking at it and saying, gee, there must be some things we can do. Let's meet again next month. Gets old. And so we went back to the town mission for the Economic Development Commission, which is on page 1 of the paperwork that you've got. And we used that to determine what things we could do that were within the mission that was directed for the Economic Development Commission to accomplish. So all of my budget proposals directly address those missions. So the first one is not even on the list, and that's the one that involves the list that I handed out at the beginning. For the last 15 months, we have been handing out an award to the Business of the Month in Summers. They have to be nominated by somebody before they get the award. The commission does not single-handedly simply pick a business. There are 2 ways they can be nominated, either by snail mail or by email. And more recently, we are finding that the nominations are coming in through the Economic Development Commission Facebook page. Melissa Zellick has been in charge of the Facebook page. She's done a remarkable job at creating a fairly significant number of followers, and more people are nominating through Facebook. And then she brings the nominations to the commission meeting, and we determine which business will become the next business of the month. So we've had 15 of them. By and large, they are very appreciative of the award. It comes with a plaque, and even better, it comes with the plaque and a picture of Mr. Keeney presenting them the plaque. And I have been able to get the cooperation of the North Central Connecticut News, the Reminder patch, Next Door, which is a social medium. And then I also sent one over to Ms. LaFleur, who puts it on the town website, and Melissa, who puts it on the Facebook website. So that's pretty good coverage. And I don't know if you're familiar with Nextdoor. It's a relatively small medium that covers mostly 16 acres, Longmeadow, East Longmeadow, Ellington, and parts of Stafford and Somers. And within 3 days, they will usually send me a notice saying, your post has received so many viewings. And within 2 or 3 days, I'll get a notice that they've had at least 500 and up to 1,000 people who have seen that post. And that, I think, is probably the least productive of all the ones that we get. So there is a lot of publicity attended with it, and the cost is minimal. The second one, which is number 1 on here, is the network meetings. We just started having these past year. We've been having them up at the winery. We felt that was a
Good draw.
Yeah, we went up there to one of those.
Draw.
Yeah.
People enjoy the opportunity to have some wine. We serve refreshments. The first one we had was excellent. We ended up with about 40 people from the business community who were there. I am happy to say we appreciated all 3 selectmen attended, and I think the businesses appreciated the opportunity to see the selectmen at that meeting. We had a second one 2 months later, and I suggested to the commission that I thought that was too soon, but they really wanted to have it, and we did. And there were many fewer people, and I think it was just too soon. I think the fact that the first one was very successful is a very good sign. People wanted to meet with other people that own businesses, and some of them wanted the opportunity to talk to selectmen about issues that they felt they had relative to their businesses. But 2 months is too short a time period. So in trying to plan for next year, we're suggesting that we would have 3 meetings that would be 4 months apart. And it would cost us about $80 a meeting. And that $80 is purely for refreshments. The refreshments were costing us about $150. And the second meeting that we had, we asked people if they would put something in a jar when they entered to help defray the cost of the meeting. And we did not get enough to support this entire budget. We did get a few donations, and we're hoping we could split the cost with the people who come in. So we're predicting each meeting would cost us $80, and the donations would amount to $80, and we would be able to pay for all of the refreshments that way.
Okay.
It was nothing extravagant. It was your typical cold cuts, cheeses, things like that. But I think people they were gone by the end of the night, so I'm thinking that people enjoyed them.
Dude, can I just ask a couple questions? It's okay. A couple questions I had, and
Oh,
then just give a little bit of feedback. So, number one, thank you. I agree. I think the commission's become a lot more visible. I think you explained some kind of tangible metrics around the work, views, contacts, connections, events. I mean, nice job with that. I think it's a good thing for Summers. I see your budget request here at the end. You have a few items you're asking for. I know we talked last year about funding for the commission.
Yes.
I think we talked mid-year. I think we said come back around budget time. You're here at a good time. Thank you for that. I'd support, putting some money in. I guess my questions and feedback would be, number one, the budget requests that you have here, how are they, I guess, what engagement and feedback did we get from the businesses that informed some of the ways that we're proposing to spend the money?
Well, our biggest initiative previously was Small Business Saturday. And we put an enormous amount of time and energy into trying to help businesses in Summers on Small Business Saturday. We received absolutely no positive feedback from it at all. The town, businesses, nobody, not one business sent us a note saying thanks or, gee, that was good of you to do it. The people that we talked to specifically said, I didn't see a whole lot of difference in the business that we had. And we felt that the biggest problem we had was no publicity. That I tried to get the reminder, the Inquirer. I couldn't even get our own signboard to put it up. They put up the 2 lines about the town election and stuff a cruiser. We couldn't even get on the town signboard. So nobody knew about it except people that saw our little signs that were stuck in the ground around town. And that we felt was our biggest problem. We need to draw people in to be able to see that we've got these businesses. I've taken, obviously, a much bigger interest in talking to people in town about businesses in town since I've been on this commission. And when I talk about businesses in town to people in town, the most common answer I get is, I didn't even know we had one of those. People don't even have any idea what the businesses in this town are. We have maybe 50 core businesses. We have almost 200 in all, but many of them are home businesses. But we have 50 core businesses, which are primarily in the 190-83 corridor. And I've been, obviously, in many of them now, and they're remarkably good, but people in town don't know because they never go in them. So a lot of our initiatives here are to try to get the word out so that people know that we have these businesses in Summers. I feel we're battling an inclination of many people who moved to Summers from Enfield, always shopped in Enfield, and when they think of shopping, They just think of where they've always shopped.
Okay.
So when you look at the initiatives here, many of them are publicity. I'm trying to get people in town to recognize we have businesses in town. Give them a chance. Don't always think of businesses someplace else. Give the local businesses a chance. And then,
Have we done a survey? I mean, have we done a survey to the small businesses in town?
to ask them,
Well, I'm saying, like, for instance, if we're proposing to do a mailer, I mean, to ask them, like, what would the best time be to do the mailer? Like, would it be 2 weeks before Small Business Saturday? Would it be in the springtime? Like, what would be the best timing?
the two times that businesses have indicated are spring and fall
Okay.
in general. Specifically,
How do we get that feedback, though? Like, how was that received?
from talking to businesses about when they have their big business pushes.
Okay.
One of them is, of course, when Small Business Saturday comes up, which is the Friday or the Saturday after Thanksgiving, which begins the Christmas shopping
Fine,
season.
yeah.
And the other one is the spring shopping season, when people are getting out after the
Makes
winter
sense, yeah.
and doing shopping. So,
No, I mean, I'm good with that. And I'm good with supporting some
under
funds.
3, I've indicated
Yeah.
twice a year, November and April, because those are the two biggest business pushes in the year.
So I think my only request would be, if we support, I don't know, the other selectmen, I mean, I think somewhere probably in the $5,000 range is probably the amount.
Well, I guess the question I would have, well, first of all, just to add to what Selectman Myers already stated, is that your accomplishments have been very significant, I think, in your initiatives.
I appreciate
The Economic Development Commission. So you've made a big difference already. Just
I
breathing
appreciate
life into that
the compliment. I feel a lot of it has been learning. We haven't been anywhere near as successful as I wish we had been, but it's been a learning experience, and the things that we have not been achievers in, we've learned from, which is what I've got on this
And
paper.
I understand that publicity is a very important part of having any kind of success, getting the word out. And I think this is admirable too, what you've done with regards to putting together a budget that has been discussed, of course, at length with your committee and reflects the mission of the organization and zeroes in on what you think you need to make a difference. I guess the big question is, Selectman Meyer was going to mention that, we certainly would be willing to, and very supportive of giving you some funds. But if you don't get the entire $7,210 as requested, say we give you $5,000, what difference would that make on the deliveries? What could or couldn't do, and how would you prioritize your request?
Well, that's a pretty significant decrease. That's almost 1/3 of what we plan to do.
I'm pretty good at math. It is about one.
What's your budget this year?
We spent $8,000.
No, from the town.
That came from money that was raised by
From the town general fund, though.
0.
So 5,000 is a pretty big increase on the other side of the coin.
Yes, we received 0 support from the town of
So
Suffolk.
5,000 is
That's not
a pretty
true.
big increase.
That's not true.
Yeah.
I support you.
You're right, you're right. I stand corrected. Ms. LaFleur has been very supportive.
I also helped you out on your Small Business Saturday. I got you for free
That's
coffee.
true. You got ice
Free
cream,
ice cream.
and you drank 2 coffees.
Free coffee, yeah.
Yes, I appreciate the support.
But we didn't get much public reaction. We even visited a few of the businesses.
Well, because nobody knew that we were there. I mean, the little roadside signs were nice. But that is not going to reach people in East Long Meadow or Ellington. And we need to reach out to people outside the community if we expect we're going to get any kind of meaningful participation.
But to get back to my question, how would you handle that if you received less money than you're requesting? I mean, this is a pretty basic.
Well, some of these things are for example, the mailer to Summers residents, I really want to do that.
Yeah.
That is our way of letting people in Summers know what businesses we've got and what they offer.
And the brochure you put together already and distributed through your local small businesses. I've seen.
No, they did that.
They did that, actually.
We did not do
The
that.
businesses themselves did it
There were a
without
number-
your involvement?
There were a collection of businesses that did a brochure, and there were another collection of businesses that did another brochure. And that's one of the things that they all said. We wish somebody would do something like this on our behalf.
So in other words, they are doing something on their own.
Yeah.
And they also recognize
Well,
the.
and that's where I
need
got
for
the
publicity.
estimate of the cost was from the businesses that are doing it.
Right.
So the town could help support that then,
Well,
in the Economic Development Commission.
we could help support it, but by doing that, we can help support it only if we can include the businesses that are not in it now. If we just support the businesses that are already doing a brochure, we're eliminating many of these other businesses.
Right.
And the businesses that are doing it are doing it because those largely are businesses that are owned and run by women who know each other and are friendly. And if we're going to do this, I want to feel that all the businesses have an opportunity to be included in this, not just ones that are friendly with each other.
It makes sense more for others to take foot traffic versus like a machine shop that manufactures aircraft parts. I mean, they probably don't want to advertise
No,
as much as
we
like the
would
flower shop.
only be doing this
Yeah.
with businesses that sell a product,
Okay.
not.
Okay, so this was a top priority. Of
Oh,
course,
okay,
is
so what I'm saying
residents.
in response to your question is, so I can
Brochure.
take that $2,500 and say, okay, we'll only do 1,500. Okay, that means I'm only sending it out to certain people in the town of Summers.
Well, I'm just asking you, how would you prioritize this list? And you started with it. We're taking up a lot of time here.
Yeah, I think you could.
Gotta move it
I think
along.
you could do the mailer for cheaper, depending on. I mean,
Well,
I know what I mail out for a budget flyer every year to every household, and
So
it
tell us
doesn't
about these
cost
holiday shopping
$2,500
bags, for
bucks. So
instance. I mean, how-
Okay, the shopping bags, we handed out each of the last 2 years.
I think Kim's actually got one. She brought
Kim
it
still
with her.
has hers.
yeah,
Each of you got one
I have
last year.
mine.
When I made my budget proposal, they are excellent marketing devices. People use them for shopping, people use them for book bags, people use them for a variety of carrying, and they've got the town of Summers all over them.
do the businesses sell them, or do they give them away for free?
Give them away with the merchandise. So
10 cents.
instead of a shopping bag, they get one of the summer shopping bags with the merchandise they purchased in it. So they find their way outside of Summers with anybody from Summers who makes a purchase inside of Summers.
So I think maybe we could put it as a placeholder, what, $5,000 then as an initial,
Yeah,
That's what's in the budget right
that's
now.
what I got in there right now.
which is an increase from zero, so I think it's a pretty significant.
It's a good start,
It's a
Jen.
pretty significant start this year.
I'm a different person. I support all your budget, the 7,210. I was on the EDC for years. We did almost nothing. It was a joke. And, we used to go there and we accomplished almost nothing. And so I think you're doing 100% better, for sure. And that's why I support your efforts and what you're doing. And I don't think it's going to bankrupt the town of Summers to do 7,210 versus 5,000.
Well, I appreciate your support.
Yeah.
I'd be happy for you to make a motion to that.
Well, that's not appropriate tonight.
Yeah, we're not making decisions tonight, but
No,
Well,
I'm just telling you that I do support you, but
What would you put at the lower end of your priority list here? I guess that's the question.
The lower end of the priority are the lower budget items. We probably get the least feedback on the Chamber of Commerce. We're the only town, right now, we're the only town in this district that does not belong to the North Central Connecticut Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, so we don't pay a dues because there's no money to pay the dues. So I think it's an obvious thing that we need to be funding.
Well,
Okay, what else? What else you got here?
okay, I could go to the networking meetings and say, buy your own wine, bring your own food.
No, okay, I think we
Well,
understand
we're not
what
gonna
that is.
fund wine with the taxpayer fund.
Well, that's,
You might fund a little cheese, though.
Yeah.
I mean, there's,
Cheese is good.
and economic development does have,
Cheese is good.
I mean, they do have a fund. So, I mean, to say that, like, they need all, I mean, transferring 5,000 in and them having to take $1,000 perhaps out of their fund to balance.
You have a bank account.
Right. I mean,
Yes.
there is other money. It doesn't need to just be funded. And that's
So I
why,
guess, yeah, what
but that's
is-
why I asked about the bags, and I asked about, like, you know, you're taking in donations or so forth at these networking meetings. I mean, all that could be monies that come back in to recirculate. I mean, if they're selling these bags for $1 a piece, you know, that's,
Well, the grocery store is what, 10 cents or whatever?
for a paper bag is 10
Right.
cents.
Oh,
For a
no,
bag like
these
that is
are the-
$1.52 in the grocery store. I mean, so that's what I'm saying is, like, there's ways to, yeah, it's great advertising, don't get me wrong, but how many of these do we need? How often do we need them? $1,400 a year in these things starts to add up versus, okay, we'll outlay $1,400, and if we get 600 of it back in selling them in the stores, then next year you only need $800. So how this is how revenue and net expenses work.
They pay $50, you know,
Right.
they wanna go in the mailer.
Right,
know,
exactly. I mean, there's ways to
yeah.
monetize it, and I commend you, because I'll tell you what, I've been here 11 years, and I've never seen the Economic Development Commission really do much of anything. So I
think that
do
this-
give you
I
a
think
lot
this
of
is a
props
very
for that.
thoughtful budget.
I think there's ways that we need to counteract some of the costs.
well, I hear what you're saying. I don't think we're going to make a lot of money on shopping bags.
I'm not
No,
saying to make
obviously,
a lot of
one
money.
of the ways, of course, is for the organization to use its already existing
Right.
bank account. Now, I'm just telling you that that's not a bad idea.
Well, we're supposed to be a business advice organization, and I think it's bad advice to say to a business, it's good strategy to spend all your money when you can't make any.
I mean, we're spending
Well,
somebody's money one way or another.
We
It's-
could have dues for members, you know,
Right.
to join, like they pay to the Chamber of Commerce, the $50, and then here's the benefits you get as a member.
Right.
You get included in the mailer, you get included, you can distribute bags, I mean, there's options.
I think he's
to-
tried a lot of things already. I mean,
Will say the last presentation that I made, you had made a suggestion that businesses need to buy into it.
Yeah,
And I made that notation to one of the business owners. I did not say who said it. I simply said,
yeah.
someone on the select board said that businesses need to bear part of the cost. And the person to whom I said it said, whoever said that has never owned a small business. I think the small businesses that I've talked to in town struggle. I know if you happen to have seen, I think it was in Go Local, they had a feature story on the young lady who runs Humble Fox. It's a beautiful little business. She runs a great store over here, and she's the nicest young lady. And she kept saying, I don't know if I can stay in business. This past year was a terrible year. I'm hoping this year is going to be a better year because I want to stay in business in this town. For me to go to her and say, pony up, that's like the worst thing I could
So what I
possibly.
would recommend, I know last time, my final recommendation, when we hold another networking event, if you'd like the Board of Selectmen to be there, I think we should run it as a structured focus group. I think we should have a set of like 5 or 6 questions, and the board asks the questions and gets the feedback. And one of the questions are going to be, do you find value? What kind of things would you find value from in the town?
Yeah.
Us supporting you, you know, and I think we structure it, instead of an informal mingling, which is nice, and we did that. I think we have a formal focus group where we directly, the board directly gets the feedback. What do you find valuable? Because people spend money on what they find valuable.
Right.
So if they're not finding value, they're not going to invest in it.
Right.
If they find value in it, they'll give us
If
$50.
they're paying $50 to get marketing,
Right.
that they can
They'll find
return on
value.
investment.
Because they already did that with the last
Yeah.
pamphlets they're
Right.
doing.
There's
Doing it.
synergies,
Right.
you know?
And
It's,
I agree with you. I think there's an opportunity there to get some formality to it. And
Good idea.
I'd like to even be a part of that to,
Yeah.
throw some ideas around in those as well, but, yeah.
And then I think we collect
If
survey.
you're looking for a free glass of wine, there is one, by the way.
I'm not looking for a
I
free
can
glass
tell you,
of wine.
they
I don't
don't
drink
give
wine,
wine
so we're
away.
good.
You have to buy your glass.
I think we split one last time, right? We split yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you.
Anyway, all right,
Thanks.
great. Thanks,
Jim.
Jim, appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming in.
Next on our list is Selectmen's budget.
Yep.
Kim, I think
Okay.
you're up.
Yes, so, there's a few things.
Is your microphone on?
Oh, no, use it off then, sorry. So, we'll start with the stipends. Tim asked me and Brian to increase that by 5,000. That's the first thing.
Yeah, I just want to add on that, I
Yeah,
think
of
that,
course.
and I know that the other two selectmen have said in the past they're not interested in getting any additional stipend. But I think that we need to raise the stipend. If you want to give the money back to the town, you can do that. But I think that we need to raise it because it hasn't been raised for probably 7 or 8 years.
It's been at least that.
Or more, and I think that it reflects the effort, the amount of work you do, and also, we need to make it reflect just that very thing, and if other
It
people
needs to
come
be able
on.
to attract future boards as well,
Yeah.
when, you guys aren't serving anymore.
Yeah, that's why we put it in there.
I think it's more palatable, I mean, especially now, any increase to a salary or change for elective is more palatable when it takes effect after an election. So
Right.
we wouldn't be voting on something that would affect us because there's no guarantee we would hold an office, whether or not we choose to run and whether or not we win the election.
Right.
So now would be the time to do it.
Yes.
And I think,
Okay, all right, good, next.
Yeah.
Good,
Go ahead.
That's
perfect.
fine. I give it back to the town anyway when I pay my taxes.
There you go, all right.
I'm serious, I do. I just wait till I get, Brian sends me the check, and then I just write a check for the taxes.
All right.
Which it doesn't cover.
Continue.
Okay, postage fees, postage continues to go up and usage, so I can't really help that line item. Brian and I looked at everything, and that's kind of number we came up with, so. And Jim O'Hearn, he was the additional line item to this budget for $5,000. Also, other, so we continue to pay Sullivan and Lashane out of this line item.
Right, our lobbyists.
Which is
So I
not
don't
a-
know
Which
if
is not
this
a
is
line item in this budget. so-
something you want to budget
Yeah,
going
that's
further.
a discussion we need to have. It would be $25,000 for a year to add
Yes,
a
it's-
line item in here.
I think it has to be.
Yeah, I think it needs, if
So I
we're
just
going to
don't know where to
continue
put
it,
it.
I think it needs to be memorialized as its own line item.
Yeah.
I think we should add it and then discuss it, right? I mean, I don't
Okay.
know what the other selectmen think, but I
Yeah.
think we should add it and then have a discussion when we make our final decisions.
All right, I
So
will,
make its
I'm
own
going
line
to stick it
item.
in, then under legal, I'll send you guys updated copies of everything, but I'll put it
All right.
in where legal is at.
So, under just selectmen's budget, that's really the only things that I went up and everything else is staying the same.
No, except obviously the health insurance.
Well,
went
yes,
up,
that Brian's gonna talk
pensions
about.
Yeah, I'll
went
talk
up,
about all
this
that.
went
Brian's,
up.
yeah.
I'll talk about all
Brian's
that.
gonna talk
I'm
about that.
Typing right
So I can tell you on the Sullivan Lashane lobbying expense, I continually, and I think we all continually wonder what it is we're getting in value for the expense. And I think that it's a constant question we have, and it's one also we voice with them as well. So they're aware of, our need to get some kind of payback here. And I think they're making efforts to do that. I mean, they're bringing in additional people. They're meeting with Win and Development, having discussions there with regards to the State Bond Commission and what they can do to help us there. I think we're making some progress, even though it's hard to measure it.
I mean, we had the first bond application ever, right?
Yeah. I mean,
And some of that was through their efforts.
Actually, we've never received any bond funds before, and I think that there is a real possibility that we could get some support here, particularly in light of the governor's priorities and the legislature's priorities with regards to low-income housing and the need for more housing in communities.
I mean, we may need their help if this HVAC grant gets opened up again. It's the type
Yeah,
of thing
and-
they could, help us with funding there and.
And we know they're a good organization, and we know that they have delivered to others, so we're still waiting to.
And there's a intangible where it's nice to have a direct line
to Hartford, because I ask questions about funding initiatives that we see all the time, and it's great to send Zach an email, and he works with all the people down there, and we kind of get the straight scoop on whatever the funding initiative is, whether it's something worth pursuing or not, whereas we didn't have that.
That's right.
Reading a
Good feedback. Is it worth our while?
Guessing.
Okay, keep going. That's it. Okay,
Yeah, so the
Brian's
next
up.
items, moving into employee benefits, health insurance. They've changed their model. It's going to be a biennial increase. So fiscal 26 will be the first year of that. We're anticipating a 5% increase. There will be no increase next year. However, also included in that, and we haven't got to that budget yet, it's next week, but the fire department is proposing 2 new firefighter EMT positions. So we're budgeting for those, plus our current enrollment account is in there, so all of that is
I think we have to look at that though, Brian, because I don't know that we're proposing to say 2 new EMTs. I think it's a reclassification on one of the positions.
So both of the vacancies are paramedics currently,
Yeah.
or they're paramedic positions that are vacant. Unfortunately, both of those positions also, neither person took benefits.
Oh, so there was never budgeted?
Right, because in the previous budget, they were zeros.
What did you budget at, 2-person?
I budgeted it family.
Usually we budget at 2-person.
You wanted it 2-person? I can change it. I always put people in at family just to make sure we have enough. But I can.
Don't want to, I mean, it's a big number.
It is.
Yeah.
The difference between employee and family is about $600 a month, about $500 a month, so $6,000 annually.
I would actually thought
between
a
the
little more, but okay.
No, total 100% cost between the two is about $500.
I think you're safe to budget them as 2-person.
Okay.
I mean, the person may not take coverage.
Right.
They may take single coverage.
Absolutely. All right, I can modify that number. That's not a problem.
Okay.
I'll move. I'll make myself a note. Move.
I mean, we'll have that other discussion about the position,
Yeah, of
obviously.
course.
Yeah. Let's see. The other big jump is pension town fire. We've got the town pension ADEC that we have budgeted for every year. The large increase here is the increase of the volunteer firefighter pension ADEC with the changes that were made to the plan. Prior years, the ADEC was around $4,800. The new ADEC is $73,894. Two main parts of that. One is the change in the funding ratio, dropping it as low as it is, but also the administrative costs that go along with issuing the checks, issuing the 1099s, all of that work previously was never part of the ADEC because they were paying it out of the fund. By reducing the funded ratio, now you have to account for the administrative costs as well, so that's why that was either $15,000 or $17,000 of that ADEC is administrative costs.
Now, is this our permanent ADEC going forward, or is this going to?
It is for the next 2 years, and then it'll begin. My guess is it'll begin to start to trickle down a little bit more as the funded ratio.
I mean,
goes
there's no
up.
requirement that we fund it at 100%. I mean,
There's
could
no
we
requirement
say
to fund it at
put $50,000 in and kind of taper it a little bit more?
So if you put $50,000 in, you would pay for the distributions and the administrative costs, and there'd be no money going into the fund. Is basically what that boils down to. The outlay for.
How is that possible?
So the outlay, the monthly distributions for the year, to the pension, or to the pension recipients is about $31,000 a year. So that's just the outlay for their checks.
Because we made it retroactive.
Because we made it retroactive. And then the $17,000 administrative cost puts you at that $48,000. The remainder is what actually goes into the fund and will increase the ratio.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So obviously, the Board of Selectmen has been very supportive of the increasing the pensions for the part-time firefighters. And we've voted on that in the past, and now it's time to pay for the increase.
Yep.
But we need to understand, of course, how this does taper down in the future.
Yep.
We've got an initial investment that we need to make, but that it's not going to continue on forever.
Yeah, it will begin to go down. It's going to be a slow process, that I can guarantee, but I mean, 20 to 30,000 a year going into the fund where the liability, is annually, total liability of the fund is like 400,000 or 500,000. So I mean, you're putting in, 15-20% a year towards that. It will chip away at it very quickly.
And this is something we've discussed with the pension committee as well.
Yep.
And they understand it, and they're, even though it's a large expense, they understand why we're doing it.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Yep.
So,
Brian, just back up for a second on the health insurance. What do our employees currently pay for the premium?
11%.
I think it's definitely should be on the table to move that up. Could you model that for us?
I already did. I already have all my handwritten notes here.
1%.
That's how we stay one step ahead. A 1% increase from 11 to 12% equates to it would be approximately $367 more a year to an employee. The cost reduction to the town side, you're 1% of $1 million, you're saving 10 grand.
We looked at this in the past too, and when we initially started the increase from 10 to 11,
Yep.
which I think we understood that most towns pay somewhere between 15 and 20%, right?
Yep.
I think 20 is probably the average. Some are pushing 25.
In certain plans, not in PPO plans, they're not pushing.
Well, but they also have a high deductible that goes
In
with
high
it.
deductible plans, they are. They're pushing the 20-25 range. A lot of PPOs
With
are
2,000 to
averaging.
3,000 out of pocket on top
Yes.
of it. Where
A lot
here,
of A lot of
employees
PPOs are
Yeah.
laying out about, the average is probably 13, 14 on a PPO, but that 14% is equal to those 25% on a high deductible plus the 3,000 out of pocket.
I don't know that math adds up. But.
It's all inside baseball
10%,
talk,
10%
right?
to an employee for the year is about $7,000, or the 11%, I'm sorry, is for a family plan. So you take someone like myself, my outlay is about $7,000.
So you're paying $70,000 a year in premium?
I'm paying $7,000.
How though? If it's
I'm sorry. I'm paying $3,600.
Yeah, I'm saying that's a lot less.
So the 3,000 plus the deductible, or the 3,000 out of pocket for the employee on the high deductible plus their monthly premium $60.
So my plan is a high deductible plan.
Yep.
$30,000 for a family. I pay 20%. So $6,000 a year plus I pay $2,000.
And then they make a contribution
So
towards
that's
your.
$8,000. Well, they make it's $4,000, but they contribute $2,000.
Yeah.
So I pay $8,000 out of pocket every year for my family plan, just to put it in perspective.
Yeah.
And that's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So, okay.
All right, we'll talk about that later. Thank you.
So that's it for benefits. What's next on that?
Finance.
Okay,
Finance. Let's see. What I have. All right.
Finance Department.
Finance, really the only real increase on that one is the ClearGov and the items or the additional module for our accounting software for time and attendance. Those are increasing the software and development.
Supplies.
Yes, supplies continues to go up. Every year, these, envelopes cost more money, binders cost more money, paper costs more money, W-2 forms, all of those things.
Yeah, well, you just got to realize, thanks corporate America, they're ripping you out.
I see the probate court fee has decreased by
It has.
14.
So
What's going on there?
I guess either A, we're not using it as much, I don't know, but every year we get the bill and I'm like, why
It's
do I
always
keep?
pretty low from,
Yeah, it's always
understanding
between.
services that the town receives.
It's between $4,500 and $5,500 a year that we pay for it.
Yeah.
It's based on.
The good news is we're not
per capita.
hosting the court, so that's
Yeah.
a good,
Well, I think it's a good budget.
good benefit.
Thank you.
The audit is going up. That's just way of the world right now.
Are we under contract next year with the auditor, same auditor?
We're still under contract with them. After talking to the CFO in Ellington, I wouldn't feel comfortable going out to bid. They're already paying 65 and they're going out to bid, and they've been told that they can expect somewhere in the 75 to 80 range.
Yeah, there's only 3 firms doing audits now.
Yeah, it really is.
Not many.
Yeah, it's
a problem.
it's
They're all
CLA,
full.
Mahoney Sable, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and they're all full.
yep. So I mean, it's, you know, if we can keep the fee low, great. I really don't want to throw another 30,000 in that budget. We like who we're working with. They're always good to us. So
Okay, is that all you have? Is that
that's it for finance. The
Tax collector.
Tax collector. I don't think there was really much change to it. You know, increase in cost of QDS fee is really the only thing increasing there. The assessor.
The advertising seems to have gone up.
Well, I mean, it costs more to put stuff in the
Yeah, all
paper.
right, yeah, I got it.
If they'd ever change that law where we could, you know, post things
Okay.
on the website,
Assessor.
that'd be great. Assessor, again, QDS fee going up, and as well in the mapping, that has the cost of near map rolled in now. So it's increasing that.
That's an addition. We never did that before, right?
Right, so the first year, we split it with, was it Public Works or Land Use, Todd? I think we split it with the Public Works budget. Public Works hasn't found a lot of value and use.
I use it once in a while. I still-
The assessor sees a lot of value in it. You know, it's updated twice a year. You can see great images of property. It reduces the number of house visits for certain things.
Increases our accuracy.
Increases accuracy, increases, you know, when people tell you they don't have a swimming pool and then you look online and 3 months ago, yeah, you do, it's still there, I can see it. It was there 3 months ago.
A lot of lying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you.
And what's
Information
next, IT?
technology.
So IT, I sent you, I think you should have the new one as well. We got some details on breakdowns of cost. We have our SUSER IT fee, $86,968. That includes all of our Acronis licensing, which is our cloud backups and endpoint protections and everything that is entailed with that. And that plus our office licenses, $12,588, and the website increase puts us right around that $105,000 number. So it is an increase. Really, the biggest part of the increase is the Acronis portion of it, and it's our server monitoring and server backups. The additional 3,600 of Acronis that you see there in the breakdown is for the local servers. It's a different type of license for local server versus the hosted servers. The plan is to get rid of those local servers in the coming years. I think there's really only one left, but the fire department uses it. It's a separate on-prem server for the fire department, so they're looking to migrate that to a hosted, and that'll decrease our fee a little bit. But, yep. Then that previously we were budgeting for our cell phones and so forth. We're coming out of technology services. It didn't really make sense to anyone. So we moved that cost to internet and communications, which is why you see an increase there. It used to be in technology services. Copying, Kim got a breakdown of all of our,
all the copying machines and what the cost.
yeah, got a list of
Yeah.
all that we have and their associated fees. That annually is about $32,000 for the lease costs.
Thank you.
And then there's extra in there for the actual copying fees and so forth that go
Where do
along
we
with
add
it.
one? It says one was added.
The only added one was from last year's budget was the plotter.
Yeah.
Last year's
That's
budget
the
didn't
last
have the
one.
plotter scanner because we owned the one that we had.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
The new one is a
Those are
leased one,
leases.
and I think it's the very bottom one on that
It is.
list. And then technology supplies, 10,500 gets you about 4 or 5 computers if needed in town. If we needed to replace
Which
anything.
offices charge for copying and which ones don't, I guess is the question.
So, I mean, like the town clerk's office will charge for some copies.
We do, land use.
Land use will charge for some copies. I mean, I don't make copies for anybody from my office. Doesn't charge for
Well,
them.
we don't make copies for the public.
Yeah.
Public Works.
The library charges for copies, but I don't think we have a,
When somebody comes in and asks me for a copy, I make them a copy and I have some in my
Yeah.
way. I don't
Yeah,
charge
it's
them. I would never do that.
Yeah, it's negligible. Okay.
All right, very good.
all right?
Well, thank you.
Town clerk,
All right.
your office is officially closed now, right? Your office.
What I want to do is I sent some background materials for the,
You sent us a lot of materials.
yeah, but I don't think Mike and Brian have all of that, so I mean, what materials?
What's it for? I mean, just for the salary or for other?
Yeah,
stuff?
the overview in that chart, the survey.
I have all
I
that.
think we have that as a separate.
Oh, you got that in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that'll be later. I think let's do the budget.
Yeah, I'll see the budget.
No, this was
Oh,
on
that
there
was
before their
first,
budget.
then the budget, because,
Yep.
Does this turn on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that
Okay.
we need a ton of justification. I mean, you're not looking at very much of an increase here, so, I mean, definitely budgetary here, some of it, but there's always, yeah, you're talking a few $1,000s.
You guys ready?
Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Basically, what I wanted to share is that the first year I came on board, that Deb was hired originally to be an assistant to Ann, who is a 35-year veteran. So it's a very different role. When Ann left and I came on board, then she was dealing with a 0-year veteran, and her role really changed as versus support as really kind of being a teacher. So, that was very valuable to me. And when I went to town clerk conferences and meetings of the Town Clerks Associations, I shared with them and talked to them about what salaries their assistants made. And it always stood out to me that Deb was like the lowest paid at that time of the people we talked to. This is something I've talked to, the first year I was here, I talked to Tim about it. And Tim shared with me, well, we're looking for an HR person. When the HR person comes in, part of the whole thing they're going to do is evaluate the salary structures and, be patient, Dave, where this is something that's important to do. So then Dana came on board.
We made an adjustment, though, 2 years ago.
There was a minimal one.
10%, I think, about.
7% was the first increase, and that was almost 3 years ago to date. It took effect February 1st of 2022.
So at that point, I did an initial survey of all the towns to get some kind of like my new survey. And so when Dane was here, I put forward a presentation. I wanted to get an adjustment made at that time. And again, I was told that to hold off, that we have to wait till this analysis is done by all different departments throughout the company. And she was putting in place that merit-based evaluation system. And I sat down with Dana, too, and we talked about some steps to take to give Deb more responsibility. So probably about 6 months ago, we sat down, and I had Deb and I talked about it, and the land records and the vital records, which are two key things in our department. I told her she was fully responsible for those things. So when she's not there, I would be there to back them up. And like Freedom of Information Act requests, anything to do with elections, I would be the primary point person on that. And those are just a few of the many things that we do in our office. So at that point, then I tried to push for an adjustment, and was told that I needed to, and my request was based on all this survey stuff that I had done like a year and a half before. So it was rejected, and I was asked to go and do some more research and to look at what mill rates are in town, that can affect what a town can do, And so that was the cause that led me to do this latest research. And I targeted the 13 towns larger than us and the 13 towns smaller than us, trying to get people that are all in the same size. And that's the results that I'm sharing here. But when I share, there's a couple things that I think there's kind of a misconception of, and one is the word clerk. And I mean, I came out of the grocery business, so when I hear the word clerk, I think of like a bagger or a stock boy or a cashier or whatever. And the town clerk's position is an extremely responsible position. We're governed by statute. All the land records, you want to make sure your deeds are recorded properly. You know, if there's a release comes in on your mortgage, you want it to go on your mortgage and not on your neighbor's mortgage. Responsible for vital records, births, deaths, and marriages. These are critical things. It's not an ordinary thing that, you know, anybody can just do and pick up and run with. The beauty with Deb is that her professional background really dovetails with a lot of the needs of the department. That in her database administration in the past that she did for Aetna, she had a very responsible position there. And there's databases in our department. You know, we have a database of all the DD-214s, the veterans' papers. We have the database of the birth records, the death records, the marriage records. We have a database of all the maps.
Land records.
And the land records. So that's a key part. And then the other part is her paralegal background, where she did title searches for attorneys. And then she also was a realtor herself. And that is key with the land records. You know, she knows, she understands that world. So the other thing that's misconception of is one was the word clerk. The other is a part-timer. Historically, everybody always thinks, well, a part-timer should be paid less. That thought process is really reverse of what the reality is today in the world with the cost of benefits. And this is the key one, and I don't think this is the packet. You guys got this in the email.
Yeah.
And when you look at this, because I know Brian's concerned that an increase will cause conflict and others will feel that they need more compensation on an hourly basis. But when you look at what the benefit costs are, the 89% that the town pays for, if it's just an individual single person, it's $6.56 an hour. If it's a couple, you know, an employee and their spouse, it's $13.91 an hour. And if it's a family, it's $17.17 an hour. And that's not chump change. So the fact that we have Deb as a part-timer is a huge bonus and definitely justifies being paid a little bit more an hour. Another thing that shocked me was when I did that survey of all the towns, Summers came in as the very lowest of what the payroll is for the town clerk's office.
Cost of town clerk's office.
For the salary for the town clerks, Summers was the lowest of all of them. We came in with salary total labor of 115, and that's with the bennies in there.
You're
And
not talking the lowest hourly rate. You're talking
Yeah, you're definitely not talking the lowest hourly rate, because we were not the lowest hourly
No,
rate.
I'm
was
talking
about
about lowest
5%
total pay for
Cost to run the office.
to run the office, payroll and benefits. And we were at 115. Closest to us was Clinton at 116, and then we had a couple towns that were at $229,000.
New Fairfield doesn't count.
Well, Stafford does.
Well, Stafford loves to spend money.
We know Stafford.
Okay, just not to interrupt.
They're 10
but I-
mils higher than
I
us. They
really
can
support
afford that.
what you're trying to do and the raise that you're trying to give her. I worked with her when I was in the registrar's office. She was always extremely helpful and went out of her way, you know, all the time. She was very responsible. And I know whenever my wife now, you know, goes in there to do things with her, she's just instantaneously, she did a fantastic job. You know, and when you're out, you don't even know it. You know, and she really just fills right in, and she does a fantastic job.
Well, a couple more things is that just recently, there's openings in 2 neighboring towns. The Stafford has, they filled one recently with a brand-new person that they brought in at $1.32 more than Deb is at right now, a brand new hire with no experience, that Karen is complaining to me that she has to train her everything because she's coming in not knowing a thing.
High school degree.
And then Vernon just posted something 2 days ago for assistant town clerk with a range of $29.48 to $37.50. And so what I'm asking for is right at the bottom end of that range.
Right.
So
Vernon's not a comp to Summers either. I know it's close by, but I mean,
well,
what's the population of Vernon?
30,000.
35,000. Four times our size.
I mean, I can go through the list of all the stuff that we're responsible for and by statute. And
I mean, the town clerk is responsible for the same stuff in every town. I get that. I mean, and yeah, you can go to Manchester, you can go to Vernon, you can make a lot more money, you can deal with a lot more headaches.
Dave, everything you say, I'm going to say everything you say is true on the face. And I know you've put a huge amount of work into all this. And I've done salary surveys myself in the past. But I think what's lacking here is that it's a survey that you created, and therefore not everyone can believe that it's free of bias.
Oh, give me a break, Mike.
I'm saying, no, you can do it. You
not
can.
even intentional bias.
I'm not talking intentionally.
Yeah.
I'm talking about this would need, I would think, an independent review just to see how you did it and how you came about all this.
I welcome that, Mike. I welcome that.
I've done these in the past, okay? The salary, the benefits, the comp, that's great. I don't see anywhere in here where you've done an internal equity review. That's always part of a salary survey, because whatever you do here, it has a ripple effect for everything else. And in every salary survey you have, they do an internal equity. And it almost doesn't matter lots of times what the salaries are around you, if it's going to disrupt the internal equity or what kind of effect that it has. So that's something that would need to be looked at.
Well, part of that internal equity should also be when we lose Deb and we're going to have to rehire somebody with a range like Vernon
that's a management decision. I'm talking about your technique and how you approach doing this. And I was under the belief that we did have salary ranges and that people have been placed in them and that their performance puts them in. So, and then the final piece, and then you can hate me forever, is that normally this kind of stuff is done not at midterm. It's usually done around the time of.
I tried to do that.
Yeah.
I tried to do that, and that was pushed
Well,
off.
I'm not asking you to rebut what I'm saying. I'm just giving you my opinions and my comments with honestly, no rancor at all. I know this is difficult to do.
I mean,
I had to do it with him. I had to do it with the tax department, with the assessor. I've done these in the past. And I was questioned all along the way. And you have to have a pretty good process behind you here. Because any director can now come forth and say, hey, I've done the survey. And I know I've seen Todd try to do this, and I've seen where with other selectmen, and he's been put down, and he says Ellington is making X, Y, Z, and we're not, and that's true. And this happens every day in every town. So I think that it just needs to be looked at, not in a silo, but in a broader perspective. That's all. That's my comments. And like I say, I have no skin in this game. I don't even really understand how much he's being paid or whatever. I'm just looking at the process.
My request is not going to need to have any increase in the budget. We've always come in under budget
it's
on
an
this.
increase in an expenditure, though. I mean, it's there's no free money here. I mean, this is
Right, just because of poor budgeting doesn't mean let's spend it on something else.
Is the town, when Deb leaves, is the town prepared to?
Well, Dave, I mean, I'll share my opinions as far as the merits of the raise, but I think there's some merits there. But a lot of the arguments kind of ring hollow. I mean, we heard the same argument with the tax collector. We gave a large raise and the person left in 3 months. And we still have a tax department, and it still works, you know? So, I mean, the threats of people leaving, I mean, any member, I mean, we've heard this about paramedics, we've heard this about police officers, we've heard this about public works, we've heard this about directors. I mean, those aren't the argument. I think you have merits on other arguments, you know? And I think there's some merit here, and I think, and I would support potentially making an adjustment, but, you know, I don't want to send the message to our employees, and we have a lot of great employees, that you come in with your director, you complain, you bring in some numbers, and you threaten to leave, and you're going to get a raise from the Board of Selectmen. Because that's not the message out there. You know, there's a process, human resources, the points that Mike and Brian, you know, internal equity. I mean, we did a salary review 6 months ago.
And just to put it in a perspective of percentage-wise, and you were elected in November of '21, at that time, since that time, there's been a value increase of 19.8% in her pay. This would make it a total of 36.6% increase since your election 3 years ago. So just keep that in mind. There's no other employee in town that has had 20 or definitely not 36.5% in 3 years. That's a hard pill to swallow for any employee in this town.
So I know you put together a suggestion or proposal. I mean, Deb's a great employee.
Yep.
I've known Deb a long time. She does a great job every day. I mean, I don't know the other selectmen what their
I
opinion
think
is.
she used to told us that you should take care of you when you're only about 5 or 6.
I've known her my whole life. I mean, she does a great job. I would hate to lose her. And it's not, none of what I said is about Deb. It's about the greater point, because we've been there as a board. We started making some adjustments a few years ago, and there was a parade of people in front of us that followed. You know, the library, our bus drivers, our paramedics, our police officers, everybody wants a raise. And they're not undeserved.
Right.
It's just what's the mechanism and process to be equitable and fair to everybody. That's
There's
my
people
point.
there's people at the library that are 50 cents away from minimum wage. Like, they're going to get an increase just because of the fact that the law says they're going to have to get an increase. And that's another, you know.
And they're all great people,
And
great
they're all great
employees.
people.
I feel I went through the process very methodically.
Yeah.
And
I don't
think-
doubt your
and-
process at all.
And I think the situation right now in Stafford and Vernon shows that what I'm asking for is not unreasonable.
Yeah, I think.
I support you 100%,
I'd like
Dave.
to make a couple of comments here. I think you've done an admirable job. I think it has been objective, even though the appearance may be that it's not. I think the results show that it's objective with regards to what your measures are in other communities. I think what we should do, and I'm also sensitive to how this may affect the impact on other employees the town has. I think that, however, because of the merits of the case and the fact that Deb's training, experience, and contributions have been outstanding, I think that I'd like to make a motion that we increase her budget, her pay rate to $18 an hour at this time, and then
28, you mean.
28, I'm sorry, and then we review it again on July 1.
Okay, makes sense.
In concert with other people, and make a determination then as to whether or not she should be increased even more.
Okay.
I just think that, you know, and again, it's just kind of a meeting things halfway, I understand that, but it does reflect the work that you've done and Deb's background and what her contributions, and the fact that, you know, if she does leave, we're not going to find another assistant clerk, I don't think, to come in and be able, and she also is working on her certification.
Yeah.
We're not going to find another assistant clerk, so we're going to end up hiring a full-time clerk with benefits at a much higher rate. I mean, I think that's the fact, so I just like to, and I understand this.
I completely support it, and I can tell you just from when I was working in the registrar's office, our pay was a joke compared to the other towns in the state. And Brian did run off the salaries for many towns across the state. We did get a raise, but, you know, that's the thing. There's a lot of positions, I hate to say it, in this town government that aren't being paid adequately. And I'd hate to go through and do all the research to see, where we are compared to other towns. And I think whatever your research, Dave, and everything is very sound. And the fact that we have a good employee and we need to keep that person, I think I agree with you 100%.
One recommendation I have is that there has to be a better education process of what the value of those benefits are, because it's staggering. And when I had my own small business and had to pay those benefits directly myself, it's huge. And so
Between 30 and 50% of salary is the general rule, depending if they have a pension. But, so you take their salary and you multiply it by 0.4 or 0.5, and that's the value of their benefits.
So that's why I'm saying that we are so blessed to have a part-timer in this position. None of those other 18 towns have that. And the amount of savings we have from that benefit. To me, I thought maybe you guys would want to say I was too low. Seriously.
Brian would.
Looking at that Bruin scale, I thought you'd think I was too low.
It's hard to pay people what they're worth, no matter what. People are worth more money. It's just the reality of.
Anyway, I'd like to make a motion that we increase her pay from $26.31 an hour, starting the next pay period, to $28 an hour. And in light of this discussion, and then review her salary again in light of other employees.
Okay.
The July
Is that okay with you, Dave?
timeframe.
All right.
I'll second that.
I'll be happy to go along with that.
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks for your work. I very much appreciate it.
I know I have my regular budget in here in this pile somewhere. So.
I didn't have any questions about your regular budget.
Your regular budget is fine, Dave.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the discussion and appointment of Charter Revision Commission members. This is something that we've been talking about for several weeks now. And a fair amount of work has been done with regards to, I've talked to you individually about this, about a good mix of people that can work together, they can park their egos at the front door before meetings, and can have vision and be objective in what's best for the town of Somers.
I hope that's what happens, because that didn't happen last time.
I understand that, and we're trying to learn from our experience and put people on this commission that for the right reason. And I think that we also, because we had to table it last time because of the fact that an appointed person was thought to be a town official, or what's it? I didn't bring with me
Oh, the statutory definition.
Yeah. We had to table it at that time because we had too many people on that were members of boards and commissions. We had one additional person that got us over the maximum percentage. So we took that person off and put on Tom Clark, who is a retired state policeman from Enfield, and he's been living in town for at least 10 years, maybe 15, and works in the real estate area, and I think many of us know him. He's a very solid citizen. And so the group now would be Mike Marinaccio, who would be particularly helpful because of his knowledge of the town and his knowledge of the Charter Revision Commission process and some of the pitfalls we've had in the past. John Parks, of course, has got 40-plus years' experience as an attorney in planning and zoning, and is very knowledgeable, and also comes from a family that's been in town for at least 3 or 4 generations. Teresa Schmidt, I think, did a great job the last time around, and I think has demonstrated her ability to be objective and knowledgeable, and also can provide some consistency and some history of what's happened in the past and we need to avoid in the future. Scott Copin was, I think, the town chairman of the town council in Enfield for 15 to 20 years, is incredibly knowledgeable with regards to how government works. And I've worked with him personally, and I can vouch for him. And he's agreed to do this, which is outstanding to begin with. And one of the reasons he agreed to do it is because it's apolitical. Politics does not come into play in this, even though we are limited as to parties of people.
By state law.
Yeah. Ed Dupeau is an outstanding educator. He's a teacher, currently a teacher. He's got a young family. He's on the Board of Education. He's demonstrated, I think, there its leadership, and people listen to him. Kathy Lurs he's got a master's degree in nursing. Her dad was the chief administrative officer at JMH 20 years ago. I've worked with her personally, and I know she's a very solid person, can be objective and very professional. And then, of course, Tom Clark, who we've already mentioned. So that's the group, and I think it's a good mix of people with regards to political parties, positions in town, experience, and sort of like what I think we need with regards to the three key issues, which I think we need to put together a charge, which would include whether to appoint or to elect a town clerk, whether we need a CAO, Chief Administrative Officer, whether we could use that here in town, retaining the same form of government that we currently have as the Board of Selectmen. So we would be delegating basically responsibilities to that person. Right.
Yes.
And the third issue is whether to combine the two committees of planning and zoning into one committee. This is something that's been an open issue for at least 3 decades. And we're one of the few towns in the state out of 149 towns. I think there are 8 that have separate planning and zoning committees. The rest of them are all the same committee, right, combined.
And then there'd be some other like minor technical changes, like I know, for example, like the EPAC, the composition, I think is a little too restrictive. I mean, there's a couple.
And maybe change the name of it, it's not civil prepared.
Yeah.
Emergency management, things like that.
There's a couple minor technical changes I think that the commission should look at.
There's some election things that should go from 2 to 4 years too, because
Yeah, they could look at the terms of office that people serve and whether that makes sense or not.
Yeah, stagger selectmen terms or things like that.
Right.
Yeah, just so that there's.
Right, so they're reviewing the charter,
Yeah.
but we're giving them a charge of
Three
specific things we want
Yeah,
to
I think the
address.
selectmen need to collectively come up with all the things they want looked at.
Yeah.
Right.
And decide what. And I also think the town clerk, as an elected official, should also come up with a list also of things he sees that need to be addressed. So that would be the beginning of the charge for this committee, I would think. So.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think we can put that together, and I think that's pretty much what we're looking for, right?
And you need a committee
Sounds good.
liaison.
We can have it ready for our next meeting.
Yeah.
We can-
So we can appoint the members tonight.
Right.
And then we can give a charge. I think we also need to invest with the town attorney.
Right, I think,
there needs to
I've
be-
talked to the town attorney, and I think he will sort of be part of this process.
He has to guide it to
He and
ensure
I
legal
will
compliance.
go to the first meeting of the group
I reached out to him.
and speak to them and explain the process and how sensitive the process is to state statute, the fact you gotta
So a lot of
pay a lot of
requirements,
attention
do's
to
and
it.
don'ts.
And there's a time frame that's very
Yes.
explicit, and I think that personally, I think they can get their work done, say, by the 1st of July.
Pretty expeditious.
And we have it in time for presentation to the Secretary of State's office.
Time for public input.
Get it
time
on the
for- yeah,
ballot
hold
this
some
coming
forums.
November.
Okay. I'd make a motion that the Board of Selectmen create a charter revision committee and appoint the following members: Michael Marinaccio, John Parks, Teresa Schmidt, Scott Copin, Ed DePoe, Kathy Lurtz, and Thomas Clark.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in support say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
You need to are you going to appoint a committee liaison? to-
Right, and we're going to have a liaison of Karen Neal has agreed to do this,
Oh, great.
and we're lucky that's the case. And I think that she would be an excellent liaison for the town to the.
That'd be great.
Okay, thank you for reminding me of that. I've forgotten, yeah.
If we need to make motions, we could talk to Carl about this. If we need
Yeah,
to
I
make
don't know.
motion to appoint her, anything with the charter, we can do it next meeting.
Yeah,
Meeting
yeah,
next
I don't know if you require a motion.
No, you don't need to
for that, but-
appoint her, you just,
Okay. She'd be a non-voting member who would
duties is assigned.
Yeah.
help to post the agendas and minutes and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Schedule the meetings, even if there's offline meetings with directors,
Yeah.
the last time they met with, and, to kind of coordinate all of those
Yep.
things as well.
And just
so
keep the timeline, keep
Definitely.
other.
keep them on track.
Just to make
They've
sure we
got
get a lot of
deadline.
community feedback.
Absolutely.
But the charter commission will do that.
Absolutely.
Good. Okay.
So the next item on the agenda is accepting the resignation of Mary Ellen Matarazzo.
I know. I can say
Make a motion to accept the resignation of Miriam Martizaro, the part-time senior center program coordinator, effective January 31st, 2025.
Second.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in support say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Next is accept the resignation of Taylor Reynolds, part-time children's library assistant at the library, effective March 5th, 2025. Need a motion for that.
I have to make a motion to accept the resignation of
Taylor Reynolds.
Taylor Reynolds, effective March 5th, 2025.
Second that motion.
Any further discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
For Ann Levesque. Okay. So make a motion to accept the resignation of Ann Levesque from the Economic Development Commission, effective immediately.
Right here.
Right.
I'll second that.
For any further discussion on the motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Approval of the minutes of January 9, 2025, regular meeting of Board of Selectmen.
I have to make a motion to approve the minutes of the January 9th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen.
Second that.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in support say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Longer than we've been.
Here's my normal 2-hour budget meeting.